We have a variety of games, comics, and videos. Some of the games and the comics are right out of the Bible. So in other words, you can play the story of King David. You can play a game. I'm wearing my stained glass t-shirt today. Stained glass is one of our games where you play this match 3 if you played Candy Crush or Royal Match. You play this match 3. These glass pieces form a stained glass window. The stained glass window comes to life, and a character from the Bible tells you their story. So you start with Eve, then you go to Noah and Sarah, her version of her story with Abraham, Moses, and etc. So you go through the Bible in those games. Now, that's our first section. It's just straight up biblical content. We partner with the Action Bible. So if you're familiar with the Action Bible, it's incredibly well done, illustrated version of the Bible. Our second thing we have in Truplay, our second universe, if you will, of content is called the Rhymverse. And you might see, if you look at our Truplay website, you'll see a little girl with a bunny rabbit in a tiger costume and a skunk in a crocodile rocket suit. You might say, well, that's not in the Bible. No, it's not in the Bible. But it's a fantasy world where each of these kids live in, but God is real, the Bible's true, but there's real evil, and each of the children has their own faith journey. Now, they go on adventures. I mean, there's spaceships and sword fights with monsters and going into the forest and realizing there's this nefarious plot and the forest is decaying, and there's all this evil that's kind of taken over the forest. But in those journeys, in those adventures, in those stories, the children are dealing with issues children deal with their faith. One of them's adopted, one of them's brother died, one of them's getting bullied at school, one of them's frankly just a strong Christian, but just very headstrong and doesn't care about other people's opinions. So they all have their own things they're working through, just like any good hero and any good story.
What is the audience that you're targeting?
Yeah, we really target families. If you look at the core, if you're listening, if you're watching this, if you've got a family, we have a lot of kids 5 to 12 enjoy it. That said, we have a few younger kids enjoy it. We also have kids who are teenagers who enjoy it. We also have kids who are 30 and 40 and 50 years old who enjoy it, right? Meaning we have a lot of parents and adults enjoy it too. We if you remember when Disney used to make great movies like The Lion King, and even going back to Pinocchio, I just rewatched Robin Hood with my kids, the one they did in the 70s. You can watch that as a parent and enjoy it. You can get something out of it. Some of the jokes, some of the plot twists. So the way we write and the way we design our games are meant to be enjoyed by people of all ages, and we have a lot of parents write in and tell us stuff they enjoy doing with their families. I'm a parent too, and so are most of our employees, and so it's so hard to find something you enjoy that your kid enjoys that's going to edify their life, and that's what we help families with.
Christian content oftentimes has a stigma of being like lesser quality than its secular counterpart. Yes. How do you feel like your games compare to the other games out there that aren't teaching biblical lessons?
You're right. Well, the numbers speak for themselves. So this is real data. We've got a lot of people using Truplay now all around the country, even some people around the world. So one of the measurements you look at when you're doing video games or social media, any kind of consumer software, if somebody uses your product, what % of people come back after a week? What % of people come back after a month? If you give a kid Truplay, or you give them Minecraft or Roblox, two of the very most successful multi-billion-dollar gaming platforms in the world, you give it to 1,000 children Truplay, 1,000 children Minecraft, 1,000 children Roblox. Twice as many kids will come back and be playing Truplay a week later and a month later than Roblox and Minecraft.
Wow.
Because their data is publicly available, and we know what ours is. Yeah, people, families, kids, parents really love it. We don't, and it's look, God has moved. God has been so good to us. He's blessed us with a phenomenal team. I mean, these are people who a lot of them have made video games or built software products that you've used every day, or written stories with books you might have read. So it's a really talented team, but also people who are very, very dedicated to the mission, to the calling, to the purpose of what we're doing.
A lot of games that are out there though have come under fire recently for being addictive and impacting kids negatively because they play them so much. Yeah. Is Truplay doing anything to combat that and make sure the games are, yes, enjoyable, but not addictive?
Yeah, so it's true. It is an issue that games have had. So the way we design, we enjoy the games to be fun. Design the games to be fun, to be enjoyable. Whether it's what you do in the game, or the way the art looks, or the music, or the stories people are telling. But I think the problem you get into with addiction are when you get into like in-app purchases. So there's issues where some of these games are really addictive, and then kids spend money, sometimes behind their parents' back, hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, and that happens to adults too. Like it happens to adults with some of the match 3 games, for example, where you spend money in in-app purchases, where people are spending thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars to play these games. Right? We don't do that. We charge one subscription. You pay a subscription, you get access to everything, just like Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever, Duolingo, whatever you subscribe to. There's no hidden charges, there's no up charges, it's very straightforward.
Are there any other problems in the video game industry that you're working to combat as well?
Well, I mean, the biggest problems, right, is the messaging. I mean, you know, I always tell people, look, because sometimes I'll get a question and people will say, well, why do you even do video games at all? Like, shouldn't kids just be reading the Bible? Well, yeah, sure. But do you know anyone who reads the Bible every waking hour of every minute? No, they don't. You know, they watch TV and they go outside and they socialize. But they also, the truth of the matter is, the reality of where we are as a society is the number one area where kids are on screens is games. Video games are the number one media form in terms of money and time. No offense to Movieguide, we love you guys, but more money was spent on video games last year than on box office movies, and that was true the year before that, year before that, year before that. And so I always say to people, look, if you came home tonight and you found your child with a pornographic magazine, would you throw away every book and magazine in your house? No. Because it's not that every book and magazine is corrupt, it's that magazine was corrupt. So there are bad video games and there are good video games. Now, what are we combating? Well, there is a lot of sexual content in games. Frankly, sexual content that if you put it in even 10 years ago and you're an executive at a video game company, you'd be fired. Today, it's encouraged. You know, sexual content you wouldn't want to talk to anybody about, much less a 6-year-old, right? There's hyper-violent stuff. Look, we have King David's battles where you have sword fights. You know what? We're all about, you know, there's some fun, there's action, there's adventure in Truplay. But the real gruesome stuff, you know, where there's just the gore and the hyper-violent stuff, you know, that's a problem. If you look at school shooters, you know, this always gets swept under the rug. But if you look at the story of shooters in schools, there's always an involvement with toxic content. It's true for the Columbine kids. It was true for the Uvalde shooter that happened just 2 hours from my office. There's always some level at which they're involved in toxic content. Now, is that to say just because you play, you know, a first-person shooter, you're gonna go shoot? No, of course not. Does it influence you? Yes, it does. Does it desensitize you to the value of human life? Yeah, it does. So those are some of the messages. And also, by the way, all the demonic, you know, black magic stuff that people are getting into in games, you know, we don't have that because, again, the Bible's pretty clear about things like witchcraft and, you know, Satanism and how destructive that can be to people's own lives personally. So obviously, those are things that we're combating.
Have you found that there's a lot of people in the industry that would like to be making Christian games, and they're just not able to with where they're at? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's hard because we interviewed a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who are at these secular gaming companies that it's a really hard life because you're discriminated against for your worldview, or you have to make something. I interviewed one woman who, she worked from home and she had maybe an 8-year-old daughter who walked in and saw the game she was working on. She said, "Mommy, how can you even work on that? You know, you should be ashamed." And the woman was just devastated because the woman was a Christian. But the problem is, you know, you work at this company and you kind of get forced to work on this thing or you're fired, and it's hard for people. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
So we provide a haven for people who want to come work on great stuff that not only is great quality, but that can, you know, exalt the name of Jesus Christ.
Have you felt like you've been able to make an impact on the industry, and are other people looking to make Christian games now after seeing your success?
We're starting to. There is a group, you know, called the Christian Game Developers Conference that you know we've been to, that we've participated in, and there's some bubblings, but I think look, God's moving. You know, God can use anything to get His point across.
What's ahead for Truplay?
You know, we're going to keep making great games. We have a really fun. We have a lot of new games coming out. In fact, we're about to release a game in the next few days about Lucas. Lucas is our most popular male character. He's a skunk dressed in a crocodile rocket suit that he built. But his story is his brother died a year ago and he's struggling with it. And he's autistic and he doesn't really believe in God. He doesn't know who God is. It doesn't make sense. His mom's a Christian. His mom goes, "Well, look, he's up in heaven. He's up there." So Lucas goes, oh, well, I'll just get on a spaceship and go fly and bring him back. No, it doesn't work like that. But he doesn't get it. So he goes on this big spaceship adventure. It's a real fun game. It's a big spaceship adventure. But he learns about who God is on this journey. And we have our first multiplayer game coming out later this year. All of our games right now are single player experiences. We have a multiplayer game coming out that we're really excited about. And we're just going to keep making great content for families. We're really excited about the future. Very excited.
So you mentioned that Lucas is on the autism spectrum and his brother died. Those are both hard topics to approach, but are real topics. Do you try to incorporate stuff like that in all of your games?
So we have 7 in the Rhymverse. We have 7 main characters, and so Maple is a tiger bunny. She's a strong Christian. She's very courageous. Doesn't always pronounce her words correctly, like a lot of kids, and also doesn't really care about other people's opinions. So she's headstrong, and if you try to tell her she's wrong, it's irrelevant to her, right? So she's dealing with a little bit of that. Oliver is adopted, and he's a little bit shy and a little bit afraid. Very, very intelligent, very well read, and he's kind of in the middle on his relationship with God. Kind of thinks maybe God exists, but he's not so sure. Why would anybody pray? He doesn't really get that part of it. So he's on that part of his journey. Benjamin is a Wolverine in a hockey polar bear costume. He's very brave. He's like a King David kind of a guy. Go pick up the sword and fight the bad guys and protect the little ones. And so and I could go on. Each of them have their own journey. Ava's one of my favorite stories. Her parents are divorced and she's getting bullied at school, and she has to go on this journey to learn that when people say negative things about you, that's not who you are. Your identity isn't what people say you are. Your identity is who God made you to be, and that's a message every kid needs to learn, especially in today's times of this massive identity crisis we have with children.
As we're wrapping up, do you have anything that you'd want to say to the Movieguide audience?
Yeah, I would just, again, appreciate, Movieguide's support and your time. You guys are wonderful people doing wonderful stuff. And if you're a parent, you're listening, please give Truplay a shot. Look, if you're out there and you're tired of what you're seeing for your kids on social media and the latest Disney movie and the hyper-violent video games, then, by supporting Truplay, you're supporting a movement of people who are saying, we care about your kids. And we want a different outcome for your kids than what toxic media is providing, and we've got to all come together. Please go to trueplaygames.com. You can download it from the App Store or the Google Play Store at Truplay, Truplay. Go to trueplaygames.com. We're on all the socials. In fact, we just have a Kickstarter we've just released to fund a game we're releasing next year called Journey of Jesus. We had done a game quite a few years back, 12 years ago. It was the story of Jesus in a video game. It reached over 3 million people. It was on the Facebook platform. We had over 25,000 people come to Christ. We partnered with the Billy Graham Association. And then Facebook took off games. Long story. We're revising the game. We're modernizing it, bringing it to the mobile platform. So again, we just ask for people's participation and get involved in the movement. We're pretty excited about the days ahead.
If you enjoy videos that follow your values like ours and you want to help us continue, go to movieguide.org/donate, because we're actually a nonprofit. You may not know that, but we're working in Hollywood every day to help families have more choices that follows their values. And also subscribe right now.